So, I am gonna tell a little story today, and hopefully it doesn't echo too much in here since there's nothing on the walls. And if you notice, there's primer. I'm working on this room, and soon I will finally have a background that is pretty. It's gonna be Tiffany blue, and I'm pretty excited about it. It's gonna be my daughter's room. So, since she's gonna be napping when I shoot most of the time, I will probably be in my room, but I'll at least show everybody what it looks like when it's done. But that has nothing to do with the story I want to tell today. I want to talk about how I met my husband almost 11 years ago now. You always find love when you decide that you're not looking for it. I had left a relationship and then decided to be celibate. Like, from all the things, I wasn't doing anything to bring about sexual pleasure. So it was a ball of frustration because, I was 21. It was a ball of frustration. And I worked at a kava bar, which is a non-alcoholic bar, and I'll totally get into like what kava is. Maybe in another video. I might even film it today, especially because I'm wearing a bula shirt. So I was working there, and I had seen him around a couple of times, and I never really like hung out with him. I thought he was cute, but I didn't really see anything. But when I was working one day, I was like, man, he's really cute. And my friend Bill was sitting at the bar, and he's like, get it, girl. And I was like, I can't. So it was frustrating. But I had put him in the computer as Cute Travis because there were two Travises that used to hang out. And I had put him in as Cute Travis, but he didn't cash out by the end of my shift, so it switched over to my friend and then coworker Blake. And when he was cashing him out, he's like, are you Cute Travis? Yeah, you're Cute Travis. And I was like, oh my God, I'm dead. Like, I'm so dead. And I was so embarrassed, but he obviously then knew that I thought he was cute because he knew that I was the one that started the tab. And I wonder if you can see me blushing. So he knew I was thinking he was cute. Well, we also, at kava bars, at regular bars too, but people hang out forever. And at kava bars, they tend to drink a little bit more water than at alcohol bars. And we had those like old like restaurant, they weren't old then, but now they are. Like the red and blue plastic Pepsi and Coke cups, because people were just going through cups like crazy. But we had to start labeling them because all the people that would be hanging out for hours would like leave a cup somewhere and then go do stuff at the bar, like in another part of the area, and then come back and be like, where'd my water cup go? And I'm like, well, we threw it in the dish. Like, we can't keep giving you all these cups. Like, just label your cup. So we took thick rubber bands and we labeled them with all of the regulars information. Well, I was writing one night, and or I was getting one, and he's like, hey, how do I get one of those? And I was like, they're for regulars, but I have a feeling I'll be seeing more of you. And I wrote his name with little hearts on the side, and I gave it to him. And we started hanging out from there. It was right before like the doomsday in the prime of my early life. So like December 21st, 2012. Well, I might have been ready for all of these things to happen. And I had gotten his number because I was like, oh, well, if you can come, like, you can come, because I got a hotel on this beach that we had seen some crazy stuff at before. Completely sober, mind you. So we're out there and like hanging out, and we were just texting all night, and he couldn't make it to it, but we were texting, and his roommate was like laughing at him because he was up like a little teenager, just like excitedly texting back. But we weren't dating yet, but he knew that I liked him more. I think a few days before that we went to a place called Burrito Border, which sadly isn't open anymore, but they make burritos that are like the size of my bicep, And I totally ate a whole entire burrito in like 2 minutes. And he was just like, and I laid it out on the table. I was like, not the burrito, but my like life. And I was like, look, I'm celibate, so like friendship is all you're gonna get. And by the way, I'm moving to Utah in a few months. And he was like, in the back of his mind was like, okay, well, I guess I'm moving to Utah. So after we started talking on Doomsday, the end of the Mayan calendar, we started talking quite a bit more. Did I bring my water in here? I did not. I'm thirsty. No, I'm not gonna go get it. So we started talking more, but he was like my not boyfriend. And we had our first kiss on Christmas Eve. I went to go drop him off, and I like nervously like went to lean over and was like, and I gave him a kiss, and I was so nervous, and it was so forward of me. But yeah, it just kept going from there. Well, so at that point, we knew he was going to Utah. I was moving to Utah in March, and his birthday's in February, and we quit smoking cigarettes. I can't believe we smoked cigarettes. It just seems so far removed from now. And we, of course, that was when we started, all the vapes started happening. There was like these fat volcanoes and like the little skinny ones, but like we got some that you could like wear around your neck. And I'm glad we stopped smoking cigarettes though. And I got my tongue pierced again. It's not pierced anymore, but I got it pierced like right before we left. I have a picture of me sticking out my tongue like right before we left, and it's all like puffy and swollen. But that has nothing to do with like us meeting and stuff. So we moved to Utah. Like we started saving up. He eventually came over here because this is the same house that I was in before. And we started saving up money. And when you're a bartender, you can save up pretty quickly, pretty fast. That's the same exact thing that I just said. Yeah, so we started saving, and we got everything all ready. Like he mapped out our trip. Like he had everything written down. I think we have a picture somewhere of the paper. He was like, each stop that we're gonna take, because we were gonna take like the scenic route over there. And so we loaded up my little Honda Civic and we drove across the country. He did. It was gonna be me. I was like, I'm gonna let him drive for a little bit, and then he just drove the whole way. Not as like a control thing, but just as like he wanted to let me have the experience of like looking and seeing all of the animals and like all of the buildings, and I really like looking out the window and taking pictures of stuff. And so that was really nice, especially because I knew nothing of cruise control. I never had cruise control. This is the only car I ever had. And he'd had a whole bunch of different cars. He drove the whole way with no cruise control. And I didn't know how difficult that was until much, much later. But we were in the middle of Arizona. Like we had just left Arizona, like the first stop that we were, because I think it was like right when you get into Arizona. We had slipped there, and we were gonna go to the Grand Canyon and then a couple other places. Oh, and the Crystal Forest, that was awesome. But I wasn't looking at the camera a lot. I've just got to get used to that. I freaked out. I realized I was leaving everything that I ever knew about, and it was my first time leaving home, like the home area. I had not lived with my parents in a long time. And I freaked out. I was like scared. And he looked over at me and he's like, I was expecting this a lot sooner. And I was like, why are you so understanding? Because he's so understanding and compassionate. And so instead of like stopping when we were gonna stop, we went to the Grand Canyon. We saw the Grand Canyon at sunset, and it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And like immediate tears. Like we got out of the car at the stop, and I was just immediately like tears all up in my eyes. He scared me because he went really close to the edge to like look, and I had to grab his jacket because I was just so scared. I was like, I just found you. I don't want to lose you. I mean, even if I didn't just find you, I really didn't want to lose him. Yeah, so we went, there's like a little town like right outside the Grand Canyon, and we weren't going to stop there. I thought we were going to go to Vegas and then get a hotel
I'm thinking of watching a movie.
Well, you can wait a couple minutes. I need 5 minutes, please.
Okay.
Thank you. And we had planned on going to Vegas and then getting a hotel like right outside of Vegas because hotels in Vegas are probably expensive, especially now. Well, I got a little bit drunk on some rosé. I wasn't driving, so I had little tiny bottles of rosé. I was in Vegas, like it was good. But I felt passed out when we got to the car, like just out. And I woke up in the middle of the desert and I was like, I have to pee. And so we pulled over and I peed. And then when I got back in the car, I just fell asleep again. That's it. That's all I remember. And the next thing you know, like the sun is up and like I wake up and I see mountains and we're stopping at a gas station and he's getting like 5-hour energy shots when those things were really big. I mean, they're small, but but when they were really popular. Sorry, I have bad dad jokes for like years. I really should get my water. I think I can pause it when I'm sitting on a little tiny VTech stool because I don't have like a chair in here and I don't really like sitting on the floor because there's like texture stuff that I'm gonna have to mop up. But anyways, so we're at this store and I'm like, where are we? And he goes, Utah. And I'm like, what? He just kept driving. And he's like, yeah. I just figured I'd just go. And so we finally got to the house that we were gonna be staying at because I had a friend that was staying there. And as soon as we got in the driveway and put the car in park, he passed out. Like, gave it all he got. Like, out. I handed him I shoved a pillow under his head. Like, he was out. Yes? Okay. So, yeah, we made it to Utah. And then we lived in Utah for like 8 months. Yeah, about. Okay, maybe it was 6. We lived in Utah for like 6-8 months. And it was awesome. It was beautiful. We ended up getting our own apartment. And I gotta make a wish. And it was just awesome. And then we ended up moving back home because I missed like my whole life here. Like the beach is a big part of our lives, even if we don't go every day. Like being near the water is really, it's just how I feel like I should be. Like even if I move near mountains someday, like I feel like it should be at least an hour away from like water, like not a lake, not a pond, but the beach. But I mean, that's how we met. So if you don't want to keep going, I'm gonna tell like a brief little bit about how we got to where we are now. So after we got back home, we had a couple hiccups with some addiction stuff, and I wasn't ready to handle it the way that it needed to be handled. So I just like left. My whole family has a history like that, and I just wasn't ready to handle it. And so we broke up, but we stayed friends and we talked all the time. And then there was a period of time where we didn't hear from each other. But I knew he was safe, if you know what I'm saying. That's his story to tell, even though he probably won't. But I thought about him all the time. I ended up moving to South Florida, and like I thought about him all the time, but I was always like, I'm never gonna be with him. Like, I can't be with someone that is in addiction or is an addict. I just can't do that again. But then I went to a personal development program. I learned a lot, and I grew, and I healed relationships with my family and with myself, and I just had a whole new set of tools. And so we got back together. Well, I jumped ahead a little bit. I moved back to St. Pete, and then I was expecting to hear from my mom, and I get a guess who text, and I'm like, mommy? And he's like, well, this is awkward. And I was like, who? And he sends me a picture, like, all muscly. Like, I had a boyfriend at the time, but I was supposed to wake up early, but I got that picture, and I realized quickly that I had been denying, like, everything. Didn't matter, all of the stuff that had gone on. He was my person, and I'm gonna cry. And we talked for hours that night, just like nothing had ever, no time had passed and no painful things had happened. And then I told him, I was like, I gotta break up with my boyfriend, because like clearly I have been just pretending that I didn't have these feelings. And so I did. I was honest with my boyfriend, and I was like, look, I can't be with you. I still have feelings for him, and I feel bad because he totally called it. He's like, I don't want to move back to St. Pete where there's all of your exes. And I was like, at the time I was like, you don't gotta worry, but he wasn't here. And then he was, and I was like, oh, well, I guess he called it. He totally called it. Sorry. I'm working on looking at the camera. I'm sorry. So we got back together, and I think after realizing things quickly, we knew, we were like, okay, well, you're my person, and you're who I want to be with, period, through all of the things. So we decided to get pregnant. And we did, and we were blessed to get pregnant, like, the first time. We still had some hiccups with the same kind of stuff, but I had different tools in my belt, and I handled it differently on my end. But I also then went to Nar-Anon and got support in that way. And he has this month 4 years, so that's great. And my birthday in 2018, yeah, because Victor would have been 2 when we got married, and we were engaged for a year. So in 2018, on my birthday, he proposed, and I think that the video's on this channel. You can go back and watch it. Oh wait, if it's not on this channel, I'm gonna upload it. He proposed, and I said yes, and we were engaged for a year, and we got married at this beautiful park, the park that we now like walk around, and my son was the ring bearer, and he stole the show, and that's okay. It was beautiful. That's like how we wanted it. Like, we wanted to have kids first, or at least a kid first, so they could be in the wedding with us. It was amazing. And this November we'll have been married for 4 years, and loved each other for 10 and almost 11. I don't know. I am just so grateful to have found my person. Even if we went through all the hard stuff, like, life's hard sometimes, but at least if you go through all the hard stuff and you learn and you grow and you get that out of the way before you get married, at least now you know all of someone else's stuff, because there are no surprises now, like, except for I let a little surprise the other day. But we're good communicators, and we're good at being in a relationship with each other, and so we communicated it. And yeah, so that's our story. And if you want to share how you met your person, then let me know in the comments. Also, if you want to hear more about being in a relationship with someone with addiction, like, I'm also open to talking about that, because it's something that's really hard, and I think a lot of people get stuck on a lot of different things. And it doesn't have to be like someone you're in a romantic relationship with. It could be a friend. It could be a friend that you're just having a really hard time watching go down a path, and it's really hard to set boundaries. And I think it's a really important thing to do for yourself. And sometimes it helps the other person realize what they need to do. Doesn't mean you cured them, and also doesn't mean it's your fault. Anyways, thank you for watching. Drop a heart below if you love love. Also drop a crying face if you like watching emotional videos, because I can talk about things that make me emotional. Anyways, I'm gonna go stop recording now.